Ichimon Japan is brought to you by listeners like you. Head on over to japankyo.com/Patreon to support the show and make sure that we can keep bringing you more content like this.
So Ryan, if you just believe in yourself and you really stick to it, I think you can learn to like eggplant. You can learn to like these embankment pumpkins. And so you no longer will be imokusai because you'll be a civilized city person that eats vegetables.
Welcome to Ichimon Japan. I'm Tony and
I'm Ryan.
And once again, we're joined by...
I'm Kyle.
Kyle Broyles.
That's
one
me.
Of the hosts of the Tokyo Splosion podcast. You may remember him from our coronavirus pandemic episode. So we're happy to have you back, Kyle.
Thanks for having me again. It's been a joy and an honor.
Oh, wow.
You're welcome, but this will be the last time.
Well, that's okay too.
So please do your best for the rest of this recording, and we'll never talk to you.
It's like Hunger Games. If I can pull this one off, you might invite me back. But if not,
maybe.
I'm just
but it's not looking
off.
good.
No. We had a great time with the last episode. So, Ichimon means one question, and every episode we ask a question about Japan. And today's question is, why are vegetables so insulting in Japanese?
I mean, it's obvious.
It's obvious. It's obvious, right?
Yeah. No need to explain. That's all.
No?
See you next time.
Okay. All right. So
Thanks for joining us, Kyle.
Bye. Talk to you never.
So, okay. Vegetables. You know what? To be 100% honest, I'm not sure if all the things that we're going to talk about totally qualify as vegetables. I think maybe, but in Japanese they would call them yasais, which usually is translated as vegetables. But I am not a botanist, so I don't know if all that translates 100%.
I think
but
one of them I see on our list is a fruit.
Okay, well, when it comes up, please tell me. So, Japanese has a lot of idiomatic expressions, much like any other language, and it just so happens that several vegetables (parentheses fruits)
Plant things.
edible plant things, happen to be used as insults or have a certain insulting meaning when used in a certain context. And so I thought it was interesting to discuss some of these because insults are fun and vegetables are healthy. That's the Venn diagram of why I want to do a topic on this podcast. Healthy and fun.
Healthy and fun. That's vegetables in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I mean, I love carrots, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Carrots.
Carrots are not an insult ever because they're just too great.
No, the recurring food of this podcast is carrots. Delicious carrots. So let's get started then. So first one that I have on the list, what is it, Ryan?
Daikon ashi.
Daikon ashi. Okay. So daikon, I think we all know what daikon is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think even in English they just call like daikon radish, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Those like big fat radishes. They're white, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You could club someone with one.
Yeah, they're very big. Now, ashi means legs or foot. It's one of those ambiguous words that could mean either one. And daikon ashi literally means like daikon legs. Radish
Obviously
legs.
means you have radishes for legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So radish legs. What would that? I don't know what that. Just trying to think. If I
You
knew
always
nothing
said-
about what.
We said cankles. Did you guys use that term? Like,
I've heard
Yeah,
the term
yeah.
kinkle.
I've heard the term. Yeah, I guess.
I don't think it's a very PC term, but it's when your shin / calf / ankle / like upper part of your foot just all kind of are one shape.
Right.
You don't really have an ankle.
Like, kind of thick legs, thick ankle.
Yeah.
So a daikon ashi is basically that you have kind of thick, fat legs, And interestingly, this is supposedly only used when insulting a woman. You don't use it-
Sexism too.
Yeah. So you don't want to insult a guy because apparently it's not very insulting if you call him a daikon ashi. You want to only find your female friends and refer to them as daikon ashi, because thick legs are not attractive on women. I guess is the thinking, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, and
Because daikon has generally a positive image.
yeah. Daikon is a very healthy food. You know it's popular in oden, right?
Yeah.
Which is like kind of
Popular in a whole bunch of things.
yeah. It's good.
I like dumplings, but I wouldn't want anyone to call me like dumpling face or something, or dumpling legs.
Dumpling legs. Dumpling.
Just because you like to eat it.
Really short, round legs.
Hey, dumpling legs.
It's just not a nice thing.
No.
What if it's like, man, you got some nice dumpling legs?
Okay, well. I like at least part of that sentence.
I like the intonation and enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly.
I can appreciate that you seem to have meant it as a compliment. One entry that I found on this was pretty interesting, and I can't verify that this is 100% true, but if we ever interview a daikon expert, maybe he can verify this, or she can verify this, because he or she, we don't know. But up until the latter half of the Edo period, daikon ashi was not an insult. It was actually a compliment, because daikon used to be thinner back then. So they were white and thin. So to call somebody a daikon ashi back then was to say they had long, white, thin legs.
So what did dumpling legs mean back then?
I didn't look into that one. Sorry. But I guess through perhaps like genetic breeding, right? Like they managed to get the daikons to look fatter, and then at that point it became an insult.
Isn't language incredible?
Language is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that the shape changed, the phrase remained, and just changed meaning to
Yeah, you can't get rid of the phrase. It's
comedy,
part of
yeah.
everyday life.
Yeah.
Like
Whole cultures have adapted around it.
I mean, I say this at least 16 times an hour in Japan. So
Yeah.
Hey, daikon ashi. Hey, daikon ashi.
Every day at the stations, somebody says, "Doke daikon ashi."
okay.
So
It's just how you say hello in the morning in Tokyo.
So again,
Out of my way.
radish legs. So again,
When
emphasis,
you say it
though,
like that, it sounds like something from like a kid's comic book.
radish legs.
Yeah, out of my way, radish legs.
I love to investigate like the etymology of words, but oftentimes like etymologies are like kind of stories that people have come up with at some point, and you can't 100% verify them, right? So
Yeah, like made after the fact to explain it.
yeah, maybe they're true, maybe they're not, or maybe there's an element of truth. So I can't say 100% sure that this is the case, but nevertheless, it's still interesting, and we are giving you the meanings here, so at least you know what they mean. So yeah, daikon ashi, no dumpling legs as far as I am aware.
We're gonna make it a thing.
It's a thing.
All right. So I think the next one is daikon yakusha.
Yeah, daikon yakusha.
Yeah. Daikon yakusha. Yeah. So another daikon related one. And yakusha means like actor. And you're calling someone a radish actor. And this is basically you're calling. So let's say you go to a play and you say, あいつは大根役者だったな. Like, oh, that guy was such a radish actor. Because the meaning there is like a no talent, hack, lousy actor. So this has to do with a pun, because like 99% of things in Japan have to do with a pun. And so what happens is, daikon, like we were talking about, like you can eat it in anything. You often eat it in oden. It's good. It doesn't go bad. It lasts a long time. So you never get like food poisoning from eating this daikon radish. And in Japanese, shoku ataru or shoku ataranai is not to get food poisoning. Ataru but even by itself in certain contexts can mean to get food poisoning. However, ataru can also mean to make it big or to have a hit, to be successful. So the pun there is that because you can eat radishes no matter what the condition they're in and be okay and not get food poisoning, this actor is a daikon actor because he'll never make it big. He doesn't have the talent to make it big. Did we all follow that?
Yeah, what a simple insult. Like it just flows from the tongue.
I really do gotta wonder, like the very first time someone said this, did the person hearing it understand it, or they're just like, wait, what?
And then he explained it like Tony just did. He's like, no, you get it, like because atari
Yeah,
and food sickness.
Yeah. That's the thing though. Like in Japanese, you doesn't take the 10 extra sentences to explain what I just did.
Like it doesn't actually. The linking thing is supposed to be the ataru ataranai, which isn't actually part of the phrase.
Yeah.
So I still feel like, let's say you're like a 6-year-old Japanese kid, this is the first time you encounter it. I'm willing to bet that's not the connection you make.
I don't know. Daikon yakusha. Like, I
feel like this is something that they learn from context means bad actor, and then like in high school, like, oh, that's why.
It had to have come
agree.
from somewhere, right? Like it didn't just organically become a regular thing. Surely it's referencing something historically, like some super old comedy bit.
It very well could be. Yeah. It very well could be. I just don't know. Like that is the best that I could dig up, and like a few different sources basically gave the same.
Like I believe you. It's just it just sounds like such a stretch. It's kind of like, how did that catch on?
I really want to find like if there's some kind of like Oxford English Dictionary equivalent that will give you the earliest written citation of a word. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to find that yet.
We're going to find out it was like 2017 or something.
Yeah.
You need to write that book because it sounds like an interesting book.
Definitely.
The origin of all these strange idioms.
I'm looking into it. Maybe some of my linguist people know something, but I haven't been able to find
your network.
It, yeah. So daikon yakusha, if you go to a bad play or movie, or unfortunately a lot of the dramas in Japan do suffer from some
wah wah.
Yeah.
A lot of. Is there one that doesn't?
Every once in a while, I have watched some that I've enjoyed. But yeah, there's plenty that I haven't been able to. So I think some of the movies can be quite good, but
I think they've been improving. I'm kind of a movie fan, and yeah.
They also have to work with what they're given, and part of it falls on the direction. We can't just throw all actors under the bus.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree. So daikon yakusha. What's up next, Ryan?
Moyashi.
Moyashi. Yeah, I think moyashi is one that I had definitely heard a few times.
I think I have too.
Yeah, moyashi is just general like bean sprouts.
Yes, you'll get lots of them if you order ramen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice, not that filling topping. So moyashi or moyashi ko is like child, but it's used in a general sense to mean maybe young person, I guess. But yeah, it just means like a gangly kind of lanky, thin person with like kind of lanky limbs.
I'm surprised you let off with gangly, because when I read the notes, I was like, when do people actually call someone gangly?
It does bring an image to mind, gangly.
Like, it is accurate, but compared to weak child, frail child, or lanky, gangly just seems so much less commonly used.
Yeah. I think in my notes I put the dictionary like entry, and then I just went off the top of my head for when I was talking. So I don't know. That says more about me, I guess.
Yeah, you're a gangly child. Yeah, moyashi.
Moyashi. Yeah. So, are we done with the first half here?
So I do see right here it says take a break on the next page. So are we currently in our break?
So it's break time.
Okay, so
we'll be right back. I'm going to try my best to keep this short and sweet. First of all, Rod, thank you so much for your questions. A listener named Rod sent us some really great questions. We will get to them eventually. Just we've got a bunch of other stuff in the works already, but hopefully in the next few weeks we'll be able to address one or the other. 2, go check out Kyle's latest episode of Tokyo Splosion. I will include links in the show notes, japankyo.com/Ichimon Japan, or look up Tokyo Splosion, or just look in your podcast app. I will also include it in those notes. It's the spring 2020 episode. I am looking forward to listening to it as soon as I post this episode. Next, go check out Japan Station. The latest episode is all about idols and AKB48. It's fascinating. Go to japanstationpodcast.com, episode 38. Just look it up, click on that, enjoy. And last, remember to join the Patreon if you can. Every little bit helps. You can join for as little as $1 a month. And soon I'm going to start releasing extra bonus exclusive, I think, some very interesting content for the $3 a month tier, and I'm going to keep growing both tiers. You can also, it's easier to just get in touch with me through the Patreon as well. So if you can support the show, it would be a great help. Consider it, japankyo.com/Patreon. And with that, I think we can get back to the vegetables. Okay, so we're back with the vegetables here. All right, so part 2. Ryan, what is the next vegetable insult that we're going to talk about?
One of my favorite vegetables, imo.
Imo, potato. Although, I mean, a lot of times you hear jagaimo, but imo is, I think, a more general
jagaimo is
term.
like a type of potato.
Yeah.
It's the best type.
Yeah, jagaimo is the French fry kind of, that kind of potato, right?
Yeah.
But imo
There's
is
also like satsuma imo and stuff.
Yeah, yama imo, which is kind of a sweet potato or mountain yam, I think is what they call it. Yeah. So general, what do they call those? Tubercle family?
Maybe.
Kyle, you're the potato expert.
Oh yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's why I had you on today. I knew this was going to come up. So imo, I mean, like I said, basically we can think of it as a kind of potato. The long and short of it is that you call somebody an imo or imoi or imokusai, which means that they stink of potatoes.
There's a lot of kusai like insults too.
Yeah, there's a lot of something kusai, which means like you stink of something. Yeah, you call somebody a potato or some variation of this if they're from the country. They're like a country bumpkin, unsophisticated, uneducated, just, unaware of the upper class city ways, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, another term that basically means the same thing is inaka kusai. And inaka means like countryside, rural. And just like we said, there's kusai again, inaka kusai, which means you stink of the country, literally. But again, just unsophisticated, that kind of thing.
A small thing I want to mention before we move on from emo is, man, it's been a while, but maybe like 12 years ago when there was like the emo cultural movement in the West.
Like emo music.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like thinking...
Yeah, when we were all into potatoes.
The potato movement.
I was still on potatoes.
It was right before Occupy Wall Street, the potato movement. They really
Yeah.
had some momentum.
But I had a Japanese friend who like did education abroad in the U.S. And whenever someone would identify as being emo or mention someone was emo, she would just burst out laughing every time because she thought we were calling them a potato.
It's a potato.
Oh, you're so emo.
Yeah. And then she just like, she could not giggle whenever she'd hear that.
I never made that connection somehow.
And then she started in English being like, oh, he's so potato.
That's a new subgenre of emo music.
Potato.
That band is just so potato.
Yeah. There is a word in Japanese that derives from emo or emotional, and that is emoi. So it's not super, super common, but I think you do hear it among younger people every once in a while. Basically like emotional, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want to, be nice. Don't call somebody a potato.
Or if you do, put a positive spin on it. Like, man, you look like an awesome potato today.
I don't know what
my wife calls me, because I'm from Indiana, the middle part of America where there's a lot of cornfields, and my wife's from Tokyo. She calls me a country milk boy.
Milk.
Yeah.
Wait, did she call you that in Japanese?
No, in English. Her English
okay.
is really good. We mostly speak English together because we
Gotcha.
met in the U.S.
Country milk boy. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, so
But
I
it
don't know if
doesn't-
there's a
it doesn't-
Japanese equivalent.
It doesn't come off as strange though. Like if I were to hear an American say that, like, I wouldn't think anything weird of it.
I don't know. If I feel someone called me that, I'd just be like, huh?
Like
I have
Well,
a-
I'm not from the countryside, so.
I have a hat that I guess is imokusai, you could say, and she calls it my milk boy hat.
See, I was gonna say this, but even now with that, it makes me want to say it even more. But it sounds like something a drill sergeant would say to like a new recruit.
That's not too far from the truth.
You have an interesting relationship with your wife.
All right, so potato. What's after potato?
Dote kabocha.
Dote kabocha. Kono dote kabocha. So, dote. Well, let's start with kabocha, which is the
Pumpkin.
vegetable, right? A gourd.
There you go.
I know it's a gourd, but is a gourd a vegetable?
Well, we're using the scientific term of plant thing today.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
not the culinary definition.
Gotcha.
The
All
more
right.
scientific of plant thing.
Plant thing. Gotcha. Okay.
Shokubutsu.
So kabocha is a pumpkin, which is a plant thing. Okay. Oh yeah, shokubutsu is literally like plant thing. Oh yeah, so pumpkin, and then dote means like an embankment. So basically like that kind of area that's next to like a river. Often it'll be kind of sloped. And it's usually, I don't know if there's much like vegetation or anything there. But according to the story that I read, in the old days, it just said mukashi. It wasn't more specific than this.
Mukashi, mukashi.
Yeah. So in the old days, in olden times, people that didn't have the money and the poor people, they would raise their pumpkins on these dote, on these like embankments. And unfortunately, they didn't have much shade or cover from the sun. And kabocha don't respond well to that. They need some shade to grow. So they wouldn't grow very well. And of course, they didn't use fertilizer or anything. So you would end up with kabocha, pumpkins that were not very good to eat. They weren't very delicious. And so
Like all kabocha.
hey, I like kabocha.
You're very opinionated with your food preferences there, Ryan.
I'm just very
You're like,
anti-kabocha.
eggplant, no, thumbs down. Potato, yes, love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Ryan likes
Pumpkin, no.
potatoes and carrots.
Carrots all the way, 2 thumbs up.
I'm okay with daikon. I mean, it's not one of my favorites,
Okay.
but it's good.
Yeah. All right. Kyle, any plant things you don't like?
You know, I make a point to try to like everything that I eat. I used to not like mushrooms, and I would give them crap for literally coming out of crap. Like they grow from actual shit.
Yeah.
But I just kind of taught myself to like them.
Yeah.
And what I do is I research the health benefits of foods that I don't like.
That's
So when I was in
positive.
college, I got really into cherry tomatoes. I used to not like tomatoes, but I read that they prevent lung cancer. I don't know how. I probably just read it online. I don't know how true it is.
Right.
But I was like, I'm not going to get lung cancer. And I just popped a bunch of cherry tomatoes all the time. And I learned to like them. So Ryan, if you just believe in yourself and you really stick to it, I think you can learn to like eggplant. You can learn to like these embankment pumpkins. And so you no longer will be imokusai because you'll be a civilized city person that eats vegetables.
Yeah.
I eat almost exclusively vegetables, and I've come around on some things I initially didn't like, but
Yeah. Living in
pumpkin is not
Ishikawa
one of them.
has made Ryan eat a lot more vegetables, right?
Well, also I've been on like a diet for the last year and a half, so
Oh, okay.
I'm like I'm not a vegetarian, but I feel like 90% of my meals are vegetarian now.
That's the way to be. That's good.
All right. So I think I should say what dote kabocha means because I never did say that.
We just assumed it means a kabocha you grow on a dote.
So literally, it means embankment pumpkin, like we were saying, but it means basically like a useless person, like an incompetent, useless person. Because going back to the whole thing of like these pumpkins don't grow well on the embankment, therefore like a civilized person would not want to eat it, so therefore it's a pointless pumpkin. So to call something
civilization's on my side.
Yeah, you're out of place like a pumpkin in an embankment.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're a useless, incompetent person if you're a dote kabocha.
These phrases really make me realize the amazing work that localizers do.
Oh yeah.
Like, how would you localize something like this? There's no English equivalent.
They probably wouldn't try to keep it literal, just make it like
you
boob
person
or something.
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
Moron.
Here's a little preview of an episode that it's coming probably like 3 months from now. We talk about baibi.
Baibi.
So baibi is a variation of goodbye that was popular in like the 80s in Japan.
And bye keen.
Yeah, bye keen. This episode is it's titled something about the word goodbye in Japanese. I won't spoil it, but that's coming probably like 6-7 episodes from now.
What's the question?
I'm not going to spoil it. The point is that baibi was used by one of the ghosts in Pac-Man. And when they localized it, in English, the ghost said, "Smell you later."
Wait, do the ghosts talk in Pac-Man?
No, just like a text.
Yeah, just I think it was like a game over screen.
I see.
And so the ghost was kind of taunting you, saying "baibi" with this retro like 80s. Well, not at the time it wasn't retro, but now it's sort of seen as this cheesy retro slang, right? But when they translated in the 80s or whenever Pac-Man made its way over here, they used "smell you later," which was, I thought, interesting, right? Because that's another very idiomatic thing that would not translate.
Yeah, but I think that's like a good one.
Yeah. I liked the creative localization there.
Yeah.
So who knows what dote kabocha has been translated to in video games or wherever else it's been used.
I really hope
bet it
someone was
has.
like, "You embankment pumpkin."
The 100% literal translation.
Everyone will know what this means.
What the hell does that mean?
You ditch vegetable.
Like ditch vegetable.
You ditch veggie.
Ditch vegetable, you could get a more negative like nuance to it than embankment pumpkin.
Radish legs and ditch vegetables everywhere.
Okay, so what's the next one, Ryan?
Are
we talking about eggplant next?
Yeah, it's eggplant next. So I think it's bokenasu.
Yeah, so there's two variations here with bokenasu, or well, with nasu. Nasu means eggplant.
Yes.
And there's two permutations, I guess, of these insulting eggplant terms. One is bokenasu. Basically, it just means you're a fool, you're an idiot, or it also has this kind of useless, like we were talking about the pumpkin connotation. Boke, and this is another kind of similar story to the pumpkin here that I managed to find. So apparently, eggplants grow if the conditions for the eggplant are too good, then it won't produce fruit. And when you spoil a person and you do everything for them, then they won't be able to do anything for themselves. Therefore, they become like an incompetent fool, kind of spoiled person.
A bad eggplant.
A
A bad eggplant. Yeah. So bokenasu literally refers to like a faded, discolored eggplant. So kind of like an eggplant that you wouldn't want to eat, and that terminology is used to refer to that like useless eggplant, and so it's kind of this metaphoric thing referred to people like that. So bokenasu. The other one. Now, this one was the one that this was the very first one that I looked up because I wanted to find out what the heck this means. And it was the one that gave me the idea. Let's do this episode because it was so crazy. Okay, so otanko nasu. This is, you don't hear it used so much these days in a serious kind of way because it has this kind of old sound to it. When I asked around, I heard someone tell me, like a Japanese person told me, oh, it sounds kind of Showa-ish. So Showa is like what, 1930s to 1980?
Late 80s?
Yeah, like I think 89-ish.
Yeah.
So but it may be quite a bit older than this as well. But basically, it also means kind of foolish, idiot. It has that same kind of meaning. So what I wanted to find out was otanko. What the heck does an otanko mean?
Yeah.
Because nasu means eggplant, but otanko doesn't like mean anything to me until I started looking into this. Like it's not a word that people use. So I'm gonna give you the meaning that I didn't like, the etymology that I didn't like, and then the second one is the etymology that just made me go like, oh, this is crazy. So the first one, the first etymology that I didn't like so much was that it's an eggplant grown near a coal mine, because a tanko is a coal mine. So an eggplant that's grown by a coal mine gets all dirty and sooty, and you can't sell it, so therefore it's kind of pointless. So it takes on this.
There's no way to wash it.
Yeah. So it takes on this negative meaning, right? So my kind of foundationless theory here is that people were just kind of grasping at straws. Tanko sounds the same as tanko, which is the coal mine. So they're just, it must be that. Okay. The second one is the crazier one here. So we go back to the Edo period, red light district. All right. So
your favorite place.
My favorite place. Yes. This is, this is why I wanted to talk about this. So Yoshiwara pleasure district kind of place, right? The samurai go there to have some hanky panky with the ladies. And
that's the official term for it.
That is Japanese, yes. Hanky panky, yes. And so they would have when one of these ladies would have an unpleasant customer, a bad customer, a not nice guy, they might call him an otanshin. Okay. Now, chin, of course, we would, chin means or I'm just going to say it, chin, right? There's different variations of this. Male lower body appendage, right? That is not the legs. So otan, supposedly, tan comes from short. Okay, wait, sorry. Let me go one step back. The term that they would use is tanchinbo. Tan, short, chin. They're using the kanji for rare, which I guess it's like a ateji. Oh. Which is basically when they just use a kanji that sounds like the original word, but it doesn't necessarily have the same meaning. And then bo means stick or rod. Okay? So you could translate this to mean they're calling him somebody with a short member, right?
I like the dancing around the words in this episode.
Okay, fine. The scientific term, a pee-pee, and then so
calling people a short pee-pee.
Yeah, so they're calling him like a short pee-pee, right? Because he was an unpleasant customer. And then supposedly at some point this then got shortened to otanshin. Right? So they're using the honorific o, tan, again, short, and chin, what we talked about. So
the honorable short pee-pee.
Yeah, the honorable short pee-pee.
You got to be polite to him. I mean, it's not his fault it's small.
I mean,
and that he's a jerk, apparently.
If this is true, then I really think that this is more of like a sarcasm kind of thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it adds extra sarcasm to add o to things like that.
like omae.
Like obaka, you'll hear sometimes.
Yeah. Like the second person pronoun omae, right? That used to be a polite thing, but then it eventually became a not polite thing.
Kisama too.
Yeah. So, and then otanshin supposedly became otan. Ko is little. So, honorable, short, little eggplant. Otanko nasu.
That's the first one where the humor actually pretty much translates in English.
Yeah. And then I was reading one entry by somebody that was writing about this that was arguing that you shouldn't use it to refer to women because of this meaning. But the author also admitted that this isn't 100% for sure, right? Like I said with the etymologies, they're not always 100% certain. But this is, I think, the leading theory on the origin of otanko nasu. So...
I like that one.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And when I asked a Japanese person, like, do you know what the heck an otanko is? Because everybody knows what a nasu is. It's an eggplant. But what is an otanko? And she was like, oh, that's a good question. I have no idea. because you don't hear otanko used like anywhere else. I've never heard it used anywhere else. So there you
Where
go.
did you find it? Did you say that?
The red light district.
You got called it.
Yeah.
That's why he was wondering. Like, some girls are calling me otanko. What does that mean?
Yeah. It's like, oh, it starts with an O, so it must be polite. They must like me. I probably just heard it on some media, some anime or something at some point because I was familiar with it. I looked it up and I was like, oh, what is this? Like, I wanted to find out more about it. So, yeah, this was like 3 days ago when I was like thinking, what should we talk about?
Let's talk about otanko nasu.
Yeah, otanko nasu, exactly.
Your moment to shine.
Yep. So yeah, that was my favorite one. I looked into the whole egg, the emoji eggplant thing, of course, right? It's kind of ulterior meaning, and I found some article from like 2018 explaining to people eggplant, taco, and peach emojis don't mean what you think they might mean. And they cited like a video by Jimmy Kimmel. So not all Japanese people are aware of eggplant's other meaning. So yeah.
Even though the origin of this one sounds like they totally were.
Yeah, I guess some people did interpret eggplant to mean that. Maybe.
I wonder how many conversations change direction with a foreigner interacting with a Japanese person and they got sent an eggplant and the Japanese person thought they
We
meant,
must be having dinner later or something.
or they thought they were calling them an idiot, but the other person was just like horny, looking for a hookup. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, they might have interpreted that in
Like eggplant and the little like wet emoji. What would that mean?
This sounds like we need some research. Tony, get on this.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing.
There you go. There's a free episode.
Start
for you
texting your
tonight.
coworkers these things.
How do people react to the eggplant emoji in Japan? Yeah, eggplant. One other one that I found was, this one is not really used these days, but it did come up in a couple different pages that I found online, was piman, which is green pepper. So atama ga piman, your head is hollow, you're stupid, because green peppers are hollow on the inside. And then hanashi ga piman, which it means like literally your talk, your story is empty, right? So basically you're saying pointless things. But these were popular in the 70s, it seems. So it seems, and then after that, I guess they fell out of favor. So I don't know how many people actually are still aware of this usage.
But you can add a little bit of a retro flavor to your conversations by
Yeah, you
adopting these phrases.
Atama ga piman, baby, right? Like
Exactly.
it's like, who are you? Like, why are you talking like somebody that's like 60 years old?
I know I've made that mistake before, like when I learned the term naui,
Now,
which is itself a very outdated term. I think also from the bubble era that
yeah,
he
there's a
eats.
lot of funny slang from that time period.
Naui means like of the moment, but it's like saying like hip to my jive or something.
Okay.
It's an old way to say of the moment.
Like I think when really the internet started exploding, becoming more like widespread, maybe early 2000s to mid 2000s, now became quite popular, which basically means like you're in the process of doing something right now, or you're somewhere like Toshokan now, like I am at the library right now, right? And so you might like tweet that out or put it in a blog post or something. I think it's still used a little bit these days, but definitely not as much as it was like 10, 15 years ago.
I actually really like how English is adopted into Japanese, and in a lot of ways it's used more efficiently than it is in English.
Yeah.
Like library now, you know what that means most likely, but in English we never simplify it to that degree.
Well, you can, but it sounds like someone's angrily ordering you to go to the library now.
True.
Yeah.
Tony, library now!
But I find myself texting, especially other people who have lived in Japan for a while. Our English becomes a little bit more broken, I guess. It's just more lazy.
Yeah.
And we're all used to hearing things in Japanese enough to kind of know what we mean.
Right. we kind of talked about this in the Learning Japanese episode, in that Japanese, in a way, is surprisingly easy in that you can just kind of throw words together and usually get your point across. But
Yeah.
English, if you don't do it properly, you sound like a caveman, and then people start judging you, right? But
Yeah,
in
Japanese just naturally kind of is cavemanish.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just totally normal. Everybody speaks like that. So in that regard, it is a easy language.
I think that was and still is kind of an impediment to me getting better at Japanese is that I'm still very worried about sounding like a caveman. And
Yeah.
You want to put in all the extra words that you actually need.
And
Yeah.
the answer is always just to make it more simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely. And
Yeah.
so what if you sound a little off? Like, as long as I think, make some mistakes and then you can refine it from there, right? I think that's one of the best.
And I'm trying to translate things in my head that don't need to be translated. Like,
Right.
how would I translate this one specific saying that I usually use just to fill air in English?
Yeah.
It's like I don't need to be figuring that out in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah. One important skill, I think, to be able to do is to explain what you mean, even if you're not being super concise. You can say what you want to say, that word that you can't think of, but you can kind of explain around it, right?
Yep.
In one of my Japanese classes, one of the exercises that we did, and this was in Japan, instead of just learning vocabulary, the teacher would give us words, and we had to learn how to define. We had to memorize how to define these, basic nouns like television, things. Just, we had to be able to explain them, and I think that really, really helped me a lot.
Yeah, nice.
Terebi o miru hako.
Terebi o miru hako, yeah. A box you watch television on. Wait, no, terebi o miru hako. No, that's a relative clause. So what you're saying is a box that watches TV.
It can go either way.
True. There is that ambiguity in Japanese too. Anyway, green peppers, we got that one. And then kind of the one main thing is really why I wanted to go back to the main question is, why are vegetables so insulting? And I tried to look this up because several people online were asking the question of, for example, why are vegetables, yasai, considered insults, but fruits are not? Now,
I mean, just to point out, eggplant and pumpkin are totally fruits.
I don't know what the botanical distinctions are in Japanese for yasai and kudamono. Maybe they're a little different from...
They often don't match. The biggest
Yeah.
one, because I know in many countries people consider a tomato a vegetable even though it's a fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Like America and Japan both do that.
Mm-hmm.
But in America, usually a watermelon is a fruit, but in Japan it is definitely yasai.
Watermelons, yasai. Okay, vegetable.
There's one that doesn't
Yeah.
match between the two countries.
So then
I know there's, for example, like nezumi, mouse,
Uh-huh.
that in common parlance, you don't differentiate between like a field mouse
right.
and a rat. So
Yeah.
There's lots of animals.
sometimes
like
those
that.
categories just kind of blur together and don't
Yep.
really have
One
the
eat-
same distinctions.
Alligator, crocodile, just one.
They
Yeah.
technically do have distinguishing words if you're like a zoologist, but
Yeah.
the common
Most
people
people
never
don't.
use them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Turtle's the same thing, like tortoise and turtle.
true.
Dove and pigeon.
True, yeah.
Which is weird because in English, dove and pigeon, they bring totally different images and connotations to mind. It's like
Yeah.
a dove is graceful and represents peace, and a pigeon is, well, a pigeon. Just
It's
a
a
gross.
flying rat, right?
It's a
Yeah,
flying rat.
Uh,
Doves are also have the image, at least where I'm from, of being really, really dumb.
I'm not sure I've
Yeah.
heard that, but yeah. I don't think pigeons are particularly smart either. so.
They're not like crows smart, but they're like at least normal bird
They're street
intelligence.
smart.
Yeah.
But
Street
like
smart.
doves are like they're just gonna fly into a wall, like not glass, just like a wall.
It's because they're bokenasu. They've been pampered
Yeah, they've been pampered.
I guess
yeah.
with
so.
their lives of being ferried around from global event to the other to represent
Yeah.
peace.
I mean, they're probably like inbred a lot for like wedding ceremonies and stuff.
So yeah, so in Japanese, they're just using the Japanese terminology, kudamono, which is usually translated as fruit, and yasai, which is usually translated as vegetables. Now, the explanations given for why there are no fruits that are considered insults, but there are several vegetables that are considered insults, is basically Japan was an agricultural society, and therefore they're just using things that were common to them to insult each other. So everybody knows what a pumpkin is. Everybody knows what an eggplant is. Everybody knows what a potato is. Therefore, if you call somebody that, you have some point of connection there. Whereas if you were to insult somebody by calling them, what's something, I don't know, super like high class, like
Square watermelon.
Square watermelon. Yeah. That's I guess so. Yeah. But you get what I mean, right? Like,
Yeah.
like you don't have to explain the insult because everybody just gets it.
I was just researching like distinctly Japanese fruits.
Mm-hmm.
How many fruits just came from Japan and have been here long enough to be ingrained in the culture enough to be used as insults, which is probably a topic for another time. But
Yeah.
I guess you could call somebody an ume.
True. But that usually have a very positive or beautiful kind of connotation, right? Which is
probably a lot of the other fruits, they were brought in from traders and things and weren't necessarily like had a long history of being strictly Japanese.
Yeah, and another aspect that I read was that generally fruit are harder to cultivate. They're more of a high class kind of thing. They cost more money. So even like ume, right? Like the plums, you would see those in the gardens of like the daimyo, the feudal lords, right? The average person would not have a tree of plums, right? But like we were talking about the pumpkin, maybe some very poor people were just growing them on the side of the river, right? So that makes sense. It checks out. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all coming together, full circle.
Yeah. So I think often, as is, it's often the case with things like this, it's multiple factors kind of coming together, right? So, yeah. So,
But the important takeaway is if you want to insult someone in Japanese, use vegetables and not fruits.
yes, vegetables according to Japan.
According to Japan logic.
Yes. Don't think with American logic.
I think it's a bigger category, though, because there's fruits that are considered vegetables, but I don't think there's any vegetables that are considered fruits.
Bigger category in Japanese.
Yeah.
Honestly, in English, too. Because I can think of ones that, again, I can think of... There are fruits that people think are vegetables, but I can't think of anything that's actually a vegetable that people consider to be a fruit. I mean, there's probably something if you dig in deep, but at least of the common ones, it's the other way.
I guess it would have to be a vegetable that is sweet. I think people tend to confuse sweetness and savoriness across the vegetable and fruit line, but I don't know of any sweet vegetables.
Sweet vegetables.
Sweet potato, but is that a fruit?
It's
or
in the name.
It's in the name. It's got to be one of them.
That's a tubercule. Is that what it's called?
We're going with Kyle's expert emo opinions on that.
Yes, my expert emo opinion is back up whatever Tony says because he researched this episode.
Emo Hakase, Professor Potato.
Emo Hakase.
I think we covered everything. There are plenty of other funny idioms and insults too, but those were, I think, all the vegetable-y plant thing ones that I was able to find. We can always talk about things like baka some other day, which is also interesting, but different day.
So I remember
awesome.
The image of a cat was often associated with negative things too. Therefore, cats must be vegetables.
I think you may be right.
In I don't know if this is a strictly Peruvian thing because my family's from Peru, but I have heard, if I'm remembering correctly, potatoes and dogs are cousins because dogs don't eat potatoes, but I think they kind of do. So I don't.
If you give them one,
Yeah.
my dog would.
They don't cultivate them on their own, but if you feed them.
But I've heard that, and I don't know if that's a very regional thing or something like only my family has said.
It's a pretty low bar. Just not eating a thing means you're related.
Yeah. I mean that. I don't think most people that even if this is a widespread thing, I don't people really think that canines and tubercules are related. All right. Anything else?
I don't think we could top that.
Okay.
I don't think so.
So potatoes and dogs are cousins. Let's leave it at that.
It's official.
It's official. Yep. Embankment pumpkins and yeah. All right. Kyle, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Broyles or at Tokyo_Splosion or at Hard Officers. And Hard Officers is also on YouTube. That's where we collect old retro gaming stuff. Tokyo Splosion is our podcast. It's just kind of slice of life chats from Tokyo. Very conversational, kind of chill kind of podcast if you're into that kind of thing. And yeah, my Twitter, I have other projects I've been trying to get off the ground for a long time, and it's just a matter of pulling myself together and making it happen. So if you're interested in the stuff I do, definitely follow at Kyle Broyles on Twitter.
Definitely, yeah. And if you want to just click on links, I'm going to put them over at the show notes. You can find all that stuff at japankyo.com/Ichimon Japan. If you have any questions that you want us to look into, investigate, then you can send us an email to mail at... no, that's not the right one. It's
Mail us a physical letter.
wait, it's Ichimon at japankyo.com. Yeah, Ichimon at japankyo.com or mail at japankyo.com. That's also a real one. You can email us there. And follow on Facebook and Twitter at Japankyo News. Anything else, Ryan?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. So thank you, Kyle.
Kyle, we might let you back again. That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But Tony, you're now in the
Thank
cutting
you.
block. We can only have 2 people in.
Okay.
What a relief.
All right. Well,
I live off of these appearances.
goodbye for the last time, guys. All right.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a blast.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
In seriousness, it was great having you.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, welcome to the extra post-outro, kind of pointless, but still somewhat necessary correction section. So a couple times in the episode, I said the word tubercule. And as you may have noticed, I was kind of unsure about that because, the fact is that that's not a real word in English. I actually meant to say tuber because a tuber... and this is my very rudimentary understanding, but a tuber is a kind of root vegetable, right? Like potato would be a tuber, and that's what I meant to say. But in Spanish, and I happen to speak Spanish as well, you would say tubérculo, right? That is the word for tuber. So I did kind of some mistranslation in my head, and tubercule came out, which actually sounds like it has something to do with tuberculosis. So don't use tubercule. Use tuber when you're talking about potatoes in a fancy... botanical way. Anyway, all right, so there you go, tuber. All right, so thanks for listening, guys. See you next time.